Alright, okay. Recaps with Dom, whatever you want to call this. Day 1. Okay, so the way this works is I'm doing tournament recaps every day, and there will be some strategy, and we don't know, only if there's interesting hands. If there's no interesting hands, at least you will see me give some updates on how I busted the tournament, and yeah, so day 1, Monte Carlo, 2K FPS high roller. If you think I'm checking my phone, it's because I have all the hands that I played written down. So, 2K FPS, day 1. To summarize quickly, my first bullet, I played 2 hands, both of which I went all in. The second one I ran into aces with my ace queen. I'm done with that. It gets us moving on to bullet number 2, which we had a 30 big blind preflop spot. And while this also is not super interesting, I can show you something, at least a little something. So there's some content for the blog. In this hand, the hijack player opened, and we were in the cutoff, and since we had exactly 30 blinds, we had ace king offsuit, and I know that in theory this is just going to be a mix between a smaller 3-bet and an all-in. The size is not too important. I went with a smaller 3-bet here, but it is important to be aware that at 30 big blinds you should frankly also be shoving quite a bit, so at least there is something there that we've had to have a look at. So anyway, the guy did end up putting an ace jack, which you can certainly do if you're facing a lot of 3-bets. The simulation doesn't like it, but you know, people just don't hit simulation ranges because they don't study as much. Anyway, yeah, ace jack it's become kind of grim if your opponents are not hitting the 3-bets they need, right? Like if we go back, we can see that I was needing to hit like, what was that, like 7% of 3-bets? No, not even 6, right? So I guess you're hitting like a low percentage of 3-bets, but you're also hitting all ins. So yeah, it makes ace jack more tricky. So again, yeah, like I'm 3-betting like 5% and he's just all in. Well, that was my second bullet. As you can see, and now like so far I've been in Monaco for like a grand total of 30 minutes and won my third bullet, so that was beautiful. We do play the third bullet, of course, because I have nothing better to do. This time we have a spot. My notes say it's a hijack big blind spot. It was a single raised pot, so we're gonna look into that. This one is interesting for a number of reasons. The main one being that the board is Queen Jack 9 monotone, and our opponent checks. And we're not used to facing checks very often on this board. Typically it's a board the early position player just auto c-bets because that's what they do. And yeah, as you can see right here, guys, a range bet. Typically when this happens, there isn't really any reason to go any further with the simulations, because the simulations depend on optimal results, right? So like if your opponent has like, I don't know, you can pick up like any hand here or something, right? If he has, you know, always like this part of his range when he checks back, it's like your counter is going to be different to what he has than when he always has, like, so you can see, like when he checks back, like these kind of hands, right? So like it matters what hands they check back. You cannot just say like, but in GTO it does this. And you know, like in GTO they see bet range, and if they don't see bet range, you can't look at a hand. We can quickly like recap what happened in the actual hand, which was that the turn was another 10. It was check check, and the river was a queen, and I just decided that that person is more likely to, due to a number of reasons, not have checked back like a king or anything reasonable. So I thought he just has a jack and he would call, and I bet a third and he called, so that was all right. Again, range c-bet board here is the main interesting thing. There was another interesting one. We can look at a 3-way spot that I personally found quite interesting. What can we look at? What's like the closest thing we can have? This is like a middle position button, middle position like cutoff big blind spot. Like look at something like this. Just a couple flops here. The board in the actual hand was like around like a jack 7-4. Can take like a similar simulation, like a jack 3 deuce, and I'll explain my thinking. Anyway, here, what was happened was I had the hand had dealt ace queen, and I think there's some betting, but not too much, and yeah, so there's some betting here, but not too much. I decided we would check, and like checking a lot of hands is completely fine. There's a bet and a call, and the action's on me. Well, I pretty much guessing three-way, as a lot of people are. I decided I go with a check raise here with my ace queen. Truth be told, it's not like what would the sim do entirely, but in my mind I was thinking there would be a decent amount of check raises here. Also playing live poker, so there's additional information. I'm looking at it. I'm kind of happy to see that ace queen just pure check raises. Thought it was a good hand to do it. Just not really too much to be said. Interesting, it was 20% check raise. Truth be told, I'm not sure I'm fully hitting this, but there was some live stuff going on in that hand that would make me wanna hit it with a lot of hands, so I'm fairly happy. Very interesting that ace deuce check raises, like the bottom set blockers. So like that's fairly applicable to anyone's game. Gut shots, etc., etc. Good, cool. We move on. Right, so I did win this. Oh, there was another one I played. It's another three-way spot. We're gonna do... It's a cut-off button big blind, so we're gonna do cut-off. Like, see if I have anything like this, see if I have anything close. That's quite an interesting one, this one. Oh, we do actually happen to have the exact board. I promise this wasn't scripted. Lucky though. Interesting spot here. It's first and foremost, we gotta look at the cutoff in his range. I know he doesn't c-bet very much here, and I was happy with that. In game I just decided that people don't hit the calls and whatever, so I actually got dealt a pair of fours. We dealt a four of fours, and I actually did happen to have the all-important heart in my hand, and I decided I would bet that. I mean, you just sometimes just try to win the pot. There isn't too much to be said on these boards, however, that like you can just think that you're like you're supposed to have the trips relatively often, right? So I decided I would throw in a bet here with the pocket fours. I threw in a small bet because that's what I play. He played check call, which wasn't too surprising. Then the turn's an 8. It's an offsuit 8, and what says in my notes, I assume he just pure range checks. I also check because I didn't know what to do. Yeah, and in detail we don't have river sims. However, I'll quickly say what happened. The river's a queen, they bet, and I threw my hand in the bin because pocket fours are not good here, as you should know. Right, then we can go. There's another spot, very exciting. I'm down to 30 blinds. Let's cover the spot. Yeah, there's some DVD yelling in the background. Anyway, pre-flop spot, my bad. 30 blinds. We'll just take a pre-flop spot to make my point. Button opens, small blind calls. We have ace-5 suited, which I thought was a pure gem in practice and theory, so I just put it in. What does the sim say? Is this right? Did it load up? Yeah, that is not too surprising, I guess, that this just gets sent. Button big blind. With like a call in the middle. It's quite aggressive rejumps, but I also assume the small blind player did not have a lot of good holdings. Like if you go back, I think the small blind player... small blind player... Yeah. Like the small blind player sort of plays like this, and then... A second. I'm going to be looking at the 9 max solve here. Look at this one instead. Okay, this looks good, and then here, yeah. So like this is like the range we're supposed to be looking at. Again, just pure gem with the aces, and we move on. Okay, so let's see if there's anything else I can say. Yeah, right, so then Oh, I did bust against ace jack, which is not. No, there's a pause, and I have to find my next bullet. There's another three-way spot on a monotone board that I can show you guys. That's just a three-way. It's like my notes say it's three-way. Oh, and what is the board? Ace Queen 10 mono, it says. Okay, so I have like this is like, it's like a monotone board that's fairly close to what we need. It's nothing too close. I briefly, before I explain this, will do. So if we're facing a check here from the low jack player. I have ace 8. Obviously, I have no interest in. I can bet sometimes apparently, but I had no interest in betting this one on a monotone board into two ranges, and then the paired like a king or something in the real world, and I check down, and then the river's a brick, and I call that river bet as well. So that was not too interesting. But again, main reason I want to look at this hand is because I wonder if my double check is sound in theory, because that's not surprising. Don't bet very often. Then there was one after like playing like a poker tournament that went so great. I'm down to a very short stack, so we're gonna have to look into like one of these. I have to look into short big blind defense spots. I'll see what I have. See what's like the. It's like one that was like I was like really short. It was like less than 10 blinds. Something like this will do for what I'm trying to say. Like ace 6-5, right? It's like a board with like a flush draw. That's good. Ace 7-6 is pretty comparable to what we had in the real world. So I check, and they check back. And again, sort of makes me happy to see that when they check back these boards, it's not really a theoretical thing, which makes me feel better about being lost because I didn't know what to do. Goes check, check. Just quickly recap. I turn an 8, which is 2-pair. I was kind of lost, so I check. They bet, I go all in, and they call with a king high flush draw, and I win. But again, yeah, I was lost, as this isn't a theoretical thing that I see. Right, let's see what the next hand in my notes is. I have to speed this up a bit because I'm waffling too much. Great. This one's not too interesting. On a small three-way pot. Quickly recap my double up. I guess that's a fun one. It's a good double up. I'll just waffle a bit about that one. It's cut off big blind. Might not have been that deep. It was probably like 40 blinds deep, let's be honest. Quickly, very, very quickly, this one. It's ace 9 deuce. Ace 9 deuce. It was this ace 9 deuce. I got some luck here. Alright. Ace 9 deuce. Suppose the internet issues. Ace 9 deuce. Yeah, so ace 9 deuce. They c-bet. I decide that 9 deuce. I didn't want to check raise. Reasons for that. There's reasons to check raise. Could talk about that for a while. I decided I'd check call. There's reasons to, we could talk about this for a while. It would take longer than the video, but what's interesting here, and that's the last bit of the sim we're looking at, is if my two pairs, like here, like for example, now I don't have 9 deuce in my range, which is kind of annoying because I should have check raised it on the flop, which I didn't. Well, I decided that like here, my other two pairs, would just want to call down instead of check shove, facing a big turn bet, and I called, and the river was actually a deuce. Check, they jam. I obviously call and I beat his ace queen. So now I have a decent stack finally. Very interesting. My notes say that I got lucky and I won queens against nines and ace 5. So don't really need to recap that. I also busted someone when I had queen 3 and ace. They had ace 9. I would assume it was just short of the money there. There's one more hand, or maybe two more hands that are fairly interesting, so we're just going to do that quickly. It's again a cut-off big blind spot, but slightly deeper this time, effectively. So there's this one. It's like 8, 5 deuce with 2 clubs, and this is a spot where in cut-off big blind we'll be facing a fairly large c-bet, and I just decide that 6-4-0, just plays pure call, and then the turn was this, and I don't even know how applicable the sim is going to be that we'll be looking at, but what I want to quickly mention here is, while I check if my idea was correct, is yeah, okay, this makes me actually so much happier, because I actually did have the 4 clubs in the sim, and I knew obviously without a club I wouldn't even have opened this, because it's just an easy fold, right? But I was like, I don't know how my 4 clubs plays. So anyway, folded. That was the last interesting hand, and then the rest of the day sort of fizzled out, and I ended up bagging 5 starting stacks. And yeah, if you're keeping track, apparently this was only my 4th bullet and not my 5th. So as I just realized this morning, so I feel like I just won 2K, and I've cashed the tournament. So this sums up day 1. So yeah, I got like 5x starting stack just in the money. Don't know how much is for the winner yet, but they will announce that in like an hour. So I'm running, gonna grab some breakfast, and that was the recap day 1. We went a little bit longer than I thought, but I'll trim that down over the next few days, given that was the first time doing it. So yeah, hope you guys enjoy. Like and subscribe. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow, because I promised daily recaps, and I'll keep that promise. So bye bye.